I'm a big fan of quotes, and one of my favorite quotes I use all the time. It is so applicable, especially in the nonprofit world, but it's true in the world at large. We have all heard this quote: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Margaret Mead said that. But a lot of times we misunderstand the quote, because what we think it means is that a small group of us have to do all the work. Feels like it sometimes, doesn't it? I got a small group here and I'm supposed to change the world, at least transform this organization, achieve this organization's goals with less people, less time, less resources. How am I supposed to do that? Yeah, I know Margaret Mead wrote about that, but come on. She doesn't understand my situation. But what she's really talking about is that all great things start with a small group of people. Look at the change that's occurred in the world in the last couple of weeks. We saw tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, but it didn't start with that, did it? It started with a couple of passionate people. And all of you do what you do because you're passionate. You're not in this business because it's just a job. And if you're not passionate about what you do, it's time to change. That's the truth, because it's supposed to be passionate. Life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be energizing. You're blessed because you work for mission-driven organizations that are truly mission-driven. But if you don't have a passion for it, it's time to make a change. But with all that passion we have, what we struggle with is we still feel like we're doing it ourselves. And the reason is we have not been successful at gathering followers. He wrote a book about a year or two ago called Tribes. And he talked about how in business, what you're really trying to do is create tribes, which are followers who get what you're about and want to be a part of it. And the real key element to that, which is the core of what you do, or needs to be, it's about establishing emotional connections with people. What I've seen is that most nonprofits, I see the materials, I see the message. The message has an emotional element to it, but it's looking for an emotional reaction of writing a check. But emotional reactions are not a relationship. They're not connected to us. It's that, oh, good cause, check, gone. And see, the challenge with that is that if all you're getting is an emotional reaction from your supporters, that's all you're ever going to get. And you know what you'll never get from them? They'll never go and tell your story. That's how you build the tribes. Those are the followers you need. People that are running around town, literally almost jumping up and down, I'm not exaggerating this, telling your story for you. You've got to have a good story to tell, but you've got to have people connected to that story, and they want to go tell the story to someone else. See, we've got caught up in fundraising and making it all about money. And for the most part, it's not. Money is the outcome we need. But the question is, how do we get there? We need to change some of our questions. We definitely need to change our mindset. Name of my company is Think Again, because I make people think differently. And I'll be honest, I make people a little uncomfortable. Number one, because I have really high expectations for the world, not just me. I have high expectations for the organizations I'm a part of, for their boards. Any of you got a board that's 100% engaged? Yeah. Wow, didn't see anybody jumping up and down saying yes, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about the board challenges. A lot of the boards are disengaged. In fact, this is a really shocking thing. This is very limited research, but think about how it applies to your organization. I was with a friend of mine about 6 months ago. I have ideas. I'm driving in the car, I have ideas, so I just asked someone. I pick up the phone and said, hey, what do you think of this? She's a fundraising consultant. She contracts out with different nonprofits. She was working with a nonprofit that's got about 30 board members. They serve women in the community. It's a small group of women that they serve at any one time, transitional women. So I said, here's my question. You have 30 board members. How many of your board members can give me the first name of one of the women in your facility? What number do you think she gave me? 1. A little higher. 3. I said, there's something wrong with that. That's why you're here. You're not here because of the building. You're definitely not here to put it on your resume. I don't care what you say about the mission, but if you don't know the people you're serving, you can't put a name to a face, you haven't been in there to say, oh, this is what we do. To look in the eyes of someone whose life has been changed and say, I get it. Because you guys see that. And if you don't, it's time to go back into the trenches. We need that reminder. Because that sparkle in someone's eye that says we changed a life is what makes a difference. That's what you do this for. I don't care what your organization is. You can tell me whatever the cause is, ultimately every one of you exists to serve people. Even if what you do is about a structure, it ultimately benefits people. And we, at your level, at the organization level, we need to connect to those stories because we get disconnected, because we get caught up in all the stuff we got to do. How many of you love asking for money? Okay, any more than one? Couple? Okay, see, I'm not surprised. This is just how the world is. Most people don't like it. So here's my question. If only one or two of you do, what percentage of your board likes doing it? But do we acknowledge that in how we talk to them, or do we assume they like it, love it, and know how to do it? We say, go get us some money. Or we'll say something like this, go introduce us to some of your friends, and a lot of times we'll add this in there. We'll say, introduce us to some people who might be willing to support our mission. What's the problem with that? There's an inherent flaw in that directive. Because what don't they know? They don't know who might be willing to support the organization. They don't know who might get it. Let's think about the hierarchy. I like to think of hierarchies of donors, supporters, friends. We're putting them all in one bucket. I don't want to just make it donors, because if we want people out there telling our story, you may have someone who goes around the whole city and tells your story, but only gives you $10. I love them. I'll take them over a $100 donor or even a $1,000 donor probably, because they're out telling my story. There's so many ways they can help us. So we've got this group of people who are our tribe. Let's use Seth Godin's word. They're our tribe or our potential tribe. So how do we engage them? Most people, when making decisions to support a cause, and I don't know if you all do this because I don't have enough data to know whether people in the industry function differently. When I get a letter looking for a donation, what's the first thing I look at? And my data says most people, this is the first thing they look at. Who is it from? Who signed it? Who's on the board? Because we're looking to see, do I know them? Do I like them? How much do I like them? Have they supported me in the past? Right, we go through this whole relationship analysis. That's where we go first. And that's what we rely on in fundraising, sometimes too much. Because here's the challenge. If I'm going to look at that, and let's say, I like names, Kelly. So let's say Kelly sends me a letter. I know Kelly, I like Kelly, ready to support her, so I write a check to Kelly. Do I have a relationship with the organization? No, I have a relationship with Kelly. And there's two problems with that. When Kelly leaves, guess where I go? Unless I'm connected to the cause and the mission, I'm gone. Kelly leaves, I'm not supporting it anymore, or until I realize she's gone. But the other thing is, I'm not telling anybody about this. Enthusiasm matters. Because if you want someone to be passionate about your organization, they need to know you're passionate. And the problem is we get caught up in day-to-day work and we lose our passion. Or we get disconnected from it. We don't show it to people. This is about being a little crazy. Why can't we get excited about what we do? Versus, well, let me tell you about what we do. This isn't about being an introvert or an extrovert either. If you're really passionate, let it out. Let the world see it. Stories matter. Stories are emotional. Stories invoke passion. Stories are the only thing that we've ever seen that create connections. And if you think about historically, stories used to be the norm. We live in a society that aren't about stories anymore. Now the excuse is, well, it's a digital world, Jeff. That's not the reason. It's how we use technology. It's how we use technology. A lot of people think social media is either the panacea and all the answers. It is not. Or it's this evil empire that's sucking the relationships out of us. The relationships weren't there to begin with. They weren't. If I went around this room, most of you would not say one of your key blessings is you have so many amazing relationships in your life, I don't want any more. You may have a lot of friends, But we don't even do well at relationships with friends anymore because we play at the surface level. We don't even know them. Just like we don't know our donors and supporters. The opportunity is there with these stories to make a difference and touch people's lives. What you do matters so much. But we got to make sure we're connected to it too. Because we get bored, not bored, but we get caught up in all our stuff. And then it's a job. If it's just a job, we got to connect to that again. Maybe we got to go back in the trenches and reconnect to those stories ourselves so we can share them with someone. I walk through this world every day and I see people who are dying to be connected to something. That's your opportunity. You don't know who wants to be connected to you. You need to create that tribe. And with the two basic fundamentals of the mindset of earning the right and build some stories within your organization that answer that question. In what ways can we get into the hearts and minds of the people that can support us? And in what ways can we support those who support us? Because my guess is you all do strategic planning, and I'll bet you've never asked that question in a strategic planning session. In what ways can we support them? We make it all about our mission. The stories are out there. I'm going to close with a quote. It's one of my favorites, but I have a lot of favorites, I have to admit. Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." He didn't say point at someone else and ask them to change, right? Didn't say, hey, you're not engaged enough. Didn't say you're not doing enough. It said be. So the real question is, are you being who you need to be to achieve these objectives? So I invite each one of you to be relational, to be a storyteller, and to be a little bit crazy. And you will change the world. Thank you.